Good morning, or afternoon, or night. I don't know, I can't tell. I have curtains and I never go outside. Could be a beautiful day, could be terrible. I don't know, I never leave. Welcome everyone to the Pack a Bomb live stream experience. Happy to be with you again. I believe last we spoke, I was talking about I was gonna go out of town for a few days safely. Rural Airbnb in the middle of nowhere where they do extensive cleaning protocols. Very safe as you can be in these trying times. And you know what? I talked about reading a book. I read 2 books. I barely looked at my phone. I kept it like on the kitchen counter instead of in my pocket the whole time. I sat outside. I listened to the birds. I watched the sunrise. I jumped into a cold river. It was very healing for me, and it was great. In terms of, I guess, mental health, that's what I need. Get back to nature, jump into a cold river, feel alive. I used to read a lot of books, and then, I tend to, sit in front of my computer or look at my phone or watch Netflix, and then I go, now I need to go to bed. And that book that's been on my nightstand for 2 months, I barely turn a page, but I really reminded me how much I enjoy just sitting and reading. So what are you guys doing for your mental health? I understand in some countries you're way past this. You guys are out like going to bars and restaurants and Disney World if you have that thing or whatever your equivalent is. But if you're more locked down like we are, what are you guys doing? I don't know. You play, like I talk about playing games. I haven't played any games in the last couple of weeks. But I don't know. What do you guys do for fun? What do you do to blow off steam? Don't tell me to look at packets or I'll punch your monitor. Yes, your monitor. What else? International Beer Day. You know what? I made the decision when I went into quarantine back in March. I was not going to drink beer because, I can now feel my body is breaking down because I don't move it enough. And I figured if I put beer on top of that, not a good idea. So a little tequila, a little bourbon. But, I think I've had 2 beers this entire time since March. Don't weep for me. I'll be okay. I do have coffee, and it's just coffee. No special additives. So last night I was looking on Twitter. I told you I look at my phone a lot. It's easy to fall back into your normal routines, even though you have a beautiful week away and you completely change everything and it's wonderful, and you step back in your house and it's like back to normal routines. Anyway, looking at Twitter, I saw this amazing thread by this guy named Corey, Cloud Guy. Lots of snark. I appreciate that. Lots of humor. But it was like ancient cised men wisdom. I used to be a cised man. It's been a long time, so I consider my knowledge, what I still have of it, to be ancient. But it went on and it went on and it went on of all these really funny and really interesting and some low-level hardcore stuff. I don't know if you guys saw it because I saw it getting a lot of play on Twitter. There was one that kind of blew my mind a bit. It was basically why root has hash or pound in its prompt as opposed to the greater than symbol that a user has. I never thought about it. I used to make a joke. I had a coworker who his first exposure to Linux or Unix was being a sysadmin in our group. And so I used to joke that he was born with hash in his prompt, which you have to understand what that means. If you don't ever learn and respect that, having root. For years, I was, a student on the system, and I never had root powers, limited to what you can do. And then when I finally did get root on that system, it's, you appreciate the power that you now have. But he was born with it. So anyway, but it was copy and paste safety. If you copy and paste from a user shell with a greater than, and if root had the greater than symbol in its prompt and you copy and pasted one character too much, you could that's redirection, right? So you could blow away something very easily as root. But a hash, is a comment. So it's safe if you accidentally. I thought that was pretty cool. The other one was, he was talking about, in shell and in bash, if you test something in like an if statement, and you can do it with square brackets. And he said, actually, I actually looked on my Ubuntu Windows. Yeah, user bin open bracket is a file on the system. If you do which open bracket, and he went into why that is. Go find the thread. It was very interesting. Okay. Little walk down sysadmin memory lane. Ladies and gentlemen, today on the live stream, we have a very special guest. You have seen her around on Twitter. You've seen her around on SharkFest. Teacher. She's got courses. When I went to SharkFest the first, couple of times, a new person, didn't really know anyone. There's a few people that, stood out that you remember. It was impossible to not remember Jasper because he's 8 feet tall. And of course, we've talked to Han Song, but Betty is very memorable, very personable, very funny, very engaging. And then each time I've sat in her session, I learned something new. And that's true of literally the last session I was in. I guess it was a year ago, whenever that was. We'll talk about that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm now going to bring on our special guest, Betty DuBois. Whoops, I hit the wrong button. Ha! I did it! Yay!
Hi!
I learned how to...
Well, that's good, though, because that's who I am right there.
Just mashing buttons. Oh my gosh, what's wrong? Welcome. Thank you so much for taking time to be on our special live stream. How are you doing?
Gotcha. We're good. We're good at our house, and so that makes life a little bit better. Everything's okay when your kids are okay.
Yeah.
Even when your kids are 21.
Oh.
My girls are old. They're 21 now. I'm like, when did that happen?
Right. Yeah. No, my kid's 8, so I know that'll come quick. It both seems like it was, a very short amount of time and forever to get to 8.
Yes.
Does that make sense? I mean, I assume it does.
Yeah, those first couple years will kill you.
Yeah. So, and then I don't know. I've seen the pictures from Georgia, from school. Of course, your kids, I guess, and they're in university or something.
Oh, so Paulding County is like, I can walk to Paulding County. It's the county next to us, and we live on the edge. So that picture of the crowded campus, I can walk to that school from my house. And you know that I don't get out and move a lot. So for me, walking that far is hard. So it's not that far.
Yeah.
It's not that far.
And then, kids getting suspended. And
we live in Cobb County.
Okay.
So we don't have to worry about that part because my husband's a school teacher.
Okay.
Yeah. So stuff like that freaks me out.
Yeah. I've got someone I know who's a teacher at a university in, I want to say Susanna. That's not it. Savannah. And she's kind of been like live updating, just the trials and tribulations of dealing with, what they're going to do. So it's scary, I think, for everyone. So we're here to talk about fun things like Wireshark, packets, SharkFest, troubleshooting. You are the packet detective. So how did you arrive at that moniker for yourself?
Well, I started out as the network detective. And now that as you drink, did we plan that? You perfectly picked up your cup at the perfect time. But I met this awesome woman, Denise, Fish, from your cup. Yeah, it took you a minute to catch on to that. But and she also network detective, because we both think of it the same way. We're both solving mysteries. We're both looking for clues. Right. We're trying to figure out, we see this. How does it affect that? Who's the culprit? Those kind of things. And she used network detective, and I had been using it for a number of years more, but I felt that really it better fit her. And so I thought, well, okay, really, I really do packets more than networks.
Right.
So I'm just going to switch from network to packet detective.
Okay.
And then, you know,
it's a trademark issue.
And then that way, well, it's not, we taught, we're like, because I told her, I said, well, I'm not the network detective.
Right.
I'm a
sure.
network. Yeah. So, there's like no big deal. And I didn't think that it was going to be a big deal. But I felt that would be, it would, because that really fits her so much better, that I was like,
fair enough.
It's a gift.
Fair enough. No, she's got a good website.
Yeah. And then mine fits me better now. So it all worked out.
Okay. So, well then, you clearly self-identified as a packet head. So what, what was your coming through your career path look like to get to that point where you realized, oh, this is what I do and this is what I like?
Right. Well, I started out, in 97. So I've been sniffing professionally since 1997. I started off with Network General.
Yep.
And, way back. And I think I still have some teal memorabilia down in the basement here somewhere. But and then, I went through one of the rifts, and so I just opened my own boutique firm, and I do application and network performance consulting, and I do training in packet analysis, because that's what I started with Network Gen.
Right.
And I found something I loved, and I stuck with it, so it worked out good.
Okay.
And then we shifted in, I think it was 2007. I shifted to Wireshark. Laura Chappell gave me a call. She and I have been friends, since back in 97. And she gave me a call. She's like, hey, you want to teach Wireshark? I'm like, yeah. So I started teaching Wireshark, and, it's awesome because I wrote out the 2008 year because I was teaching HP ProCurve. Hey, just like Cisco, only cheaper. And Wireshark, which was, oh my gosh, free.
Yeah.
So when you work for yourself, little things like that make, it just, it's kismet.
Right.
Where just something falls in your lap and you run with it. So.
Yeah. So I guess then over the years you've taught everyone from a person who's not sure how to install it to people who could probably write code. What have you found to be, the best? I don't know. Is there one size fits all when it comes to learning this, or in terms of a progression, or is it just it's different for everyone?
It's based on your need. It's based on what interests you. So, and it's funny that you say, guys who could probably write code. I had a gentleman in a class once. His name was Chris. Can't think of his last name, but his name was Chris. And he was a, programmer by trade. And the first day, he's really, bored, and bless his heart. And then I said, you can write your own dissectors. And he was like, so excited. And, by Friday, not kidding, by Friday, he had a dissector written and submitted, because they had a proprietary thing going on, at the office, which is so common. And no one had been able to do anything with it because, it was not all clear text. It's not like we could just read the ASCII. And he'd actually written a dissector for it. And then, he'd already shared it with his whole team. And then he also had shared it with Wireshark. Yeah. And that's very cool. He was ecstatic. Yeah. So I just thought it was funny that he was done by Friday.
Yeah. That's kind of how I had to use it in my everyday life.
Yes.
But it was one more tool amongst many. And then I realized, we're doing all these manual, look at this, count this many bytes over, this is the port. And I'm like, wait, we're troubleshooters. We can't be doing this all the time. And I spent a weekend. Right. Like, I'm not a programmer, but I know enough to be dangerous, as I say, a lot of people say. And I spent the weekend and did the same thing for one of our company protocols. And that was then I went to my boss and was like, hey, since, I've done this, I heard about this Wireshark conference I'd like to go to, and that's
Shark
that's how
Fest. Can I go?
Right. He's like, well, I guess so.
It's funny. Okay, so here, let me back up just a smidge. This is the T-shirt from the first Shark
Wow.
Fest back in 2000.
Very cool.
Yes, I only wear it for special occasions. So you should feel cool right now. Because I don't want it to like wear.
No, I hear you. I unfortunately I cannot find the one from my second one, but I just went through all the ones I had to find this one, which I don't.
Well, you got the Pakaguru one on.
What exactly was this one? I don't remember. Do you?
It was just for instructors.
Okay, but it doesn't have like a year or anything like that on it. That I don't think so.
I could figure out what year.
Does it have it? No.
Yeah, because you had the bowling one on.
Yeah, I've got.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Yeah, I've got the bowling, and then I've got a couple that are sort of this style, and then some of them have. They all. My thought was maybe this was like from one of the competitions or something. No, but I don't know.
No, it was an instructor shirt, and mine was too small, and so
I had to put a stack of those. Like, well, I'm not going to be wearing these anytime soon.
I didn't get to wear it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I cut off the pocket, and kept that part.
Right.
It's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Well, so speaking of the last session, I think I was in with you. It's funny because last week, Chris Greer was not last week, but the last time we did a live stream, he clicked a button that did TCP stream equals dollar curly bracket, and I go, haha.
Yeah.
I was like, I learned that in Betty's session. I was like, I've never seen that.
I remember you were so excited. You were like,
it was so cool.
Right. I'm like, I know, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to use that button today, probably.
Was it called a macro filter? What was it called?
I think they're called macro filters. I made up my own word. I call them context sensitive filters because it's based on what you click on, what packet you click on. Right. But that's just a totally made up word.
Right, fair enough. If it works, it works. And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, you basically, if you do a filter, a display filter of like tcp.stream equals 2, it's going to show you that. But you can create a filter and make it a button that's like TCP stream equals dollar curly TCP.stream close curly, right? And it's context sensitive to whichever packet you're currently on. So if you click on a packet and you go, I want to follow the stream and instead of doing right click, just hit that.
Based on packet number 507 that I happen to be clicked on right this moment.
You hit the button and it filters based on the one you're on. So that's very cool.
I love that. And it works for any field.
Yeah, any field, right? Not just TCP stream, any field. So you guys write that one down. How do you, and I've read these little things are just some idea that either someone had and told a developer or a developer had and put it in. That's all these things are, right? Open source.
Right.
And I've read the release notes. They don't always jump out at me as like, here's a new interesting shortcut or new thing.
No,
how do you learn about these things?
Well, so bear in mind, I'm kind of spoiled. I get to spend an entire week teaching people Wireshark. That's my main moneymaker. Right. That's the thing I do the most. So we spend an entire week. So we do 2.5 to 3 days using Wireshark, 2.5 to 3 days doing protocols, depending on what people want to hear and or learn. And so, I get to try everything.
Right.
Then I'll have students who are maybe, a bit more advanced, use Wireshark for a while. So they're not really in class to learn Wireshark, Right. They're like, okay, teach me TCP, Betty. Okay.
Sure.
And so they want to entertain themselves while we're getting through the Wireshark part. And they find stuff. So I have, 12 years worth of somebody showed me something cool.
Right.
And and the funny thing is that stream filter, I learned it from some guy in Greece on Twitter. He tweeted it.
Oh, wow.
And then I could never find it again. So I could thank him. Yeah.
That is wild. Yeah.
That's how I learned it. It kind of just fell in my lap,
Right.
like the whole hashtag. And let's make sure that's a comment. I love that. I didn't know that, but stuff like that just falls at the time.
There's
right
always something new to learn.
Yeah,
and speaking of learning,
what to ask
your pre-conference class is on Wireshark profiles. So what is that going to cover? What's it going to be? What are we going to learn?
What are we going to learn? Well, so the whole idea is it breaks my heart to watch people open a trace file using default profile. It does. It hurts. It hurts my feelings. People forget that, at one moment in time, a couple different options had to be chosen.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that were chosen at that time made sense technically, or made sense because it was that developer's favorite color. We don't know. Okay. But at that time, it was great. So, it's not that time anymore. And, but the whole idea is Wireshark, like most open source, programs, you can change it, you can mold it, you can make it work best for you. So like for me personally, when I do a consulting engagement, it is almost always the networking people have hired me to prove it's not the network.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm really good at it. It's so fun. It's like, there's your problem right there. Yeah. Right there. And I live for it. It's like crack. And, but then a lot of times, you'll have somebody who, and so I've built up profiles based on the needs for looking at delta times and changes and error messages. Whereas I just wrote a new course for my docket on reconnaissance, specifically designed for military and law enforcement. Okay. And so I looked at Wireshark a whole different shifty way, and so I made profiles for that were very, very different than what I have for troubleshooting. Right. And so it just depends on what you're doing. And, I'm spoiled rotten. I've been doing long-term capture since like 2004, right? Was when I saw my first InfiniStream.
Right.
Okay. Right. And so I've had Shark appliances. I've had an Indace box. I've had an Fmod. In fact, Aaron Fu just emailed me, this morning, and I've got a 10 gig long-term capture device for him. So he wants it back, and but I'm spoiled because I've had a chance to have access to taking to a customer, a long-term a long-term capture box and working with gigs and gigs of data at a time. Like it's like nothing,
right.
But not everybody has that, and some places I go, I don't have that. And so now I've got to figure out how can I work quickly with that much data, And because I don't know how to script or anything fancy like that. I'm like, open. Okay, what can I do to make open faster?
Yeah.
And so some of my profiles are based on that. That's actually one of the things I'm gonna do today is work through a 6.5 gig trace file.
Okay. Well, so profiles, different use cases, anything from troubleshooting to law enforcement. Security things, how to manage those and how to, I think,
so how to work with
them. Yeah. Okay.
What should be in them and, how do you, organize them and manage them also?
Right.
Because you don't want to have 87 profiles.
Right. Yeah. And you should have more than one, like I'm saying people do what I say and not what I do, like any good parent, or
like any good parent,
or totally. Priest.
You just turn off columns,
That's what I mean. If I were doing it every day, absolutely. Or if this was my main gig, I would have the profiles. I used to. I used to have HTTP, SMB, TCP when I was an engineer. But now that I look at it occasionally when someone emails me, I'm like, what was I? I'll open up and go, what was I doing last time? Anyway.
Right. Why is it that color? Yeah.
So that is,
Yeah.
so there are spots still open in the class, correct?
Yep.
And I believe
Yes. And it'll be live.
it'll be live.
So it's two-way. It's not just going to be, a webinar.
Right.
It's
People
going to
can
be
participate
like a meeting,
and
online
talk
meeting.
and ask questions.
Questions right then and there.
Right.
You
And I
betcha.
believe the free conference after that is currently full with a wait list. But if you're in a class, you get in, you're guaranteed a spot, right?
Isn't that amazing how that worked out? Do you know that it sold out in like, it's either 4 hours or 4 days. I can't remember which one, but it's some ridiculously short time. And it was amazing. And so, yeah, you got to really respect that.
Absolutely.
And, but I think that's the best part, that it's small.
Yeah.
So, and that's just when it's live.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's coming up in October. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, by the way, everyone, I'm sure you're looking at YouTube. I'm not, but we've got links for all these things below this video. So what we're going to talk about today is some command line things. And you said working through a large file, which also you have a course on Pluralsight that is command line tools, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Command line tools is now my new, it's my new course from Pluralsight's first time author. So that was kind of different. And, cause it's very different, to be, when you're used to doing it, however you want to do it, and then you've got to do it in an incredibly good way, but a consistent way, so that it's consistent, that the course development, they follow all the rules that you should do as far as learning engagement. And then from a look and feel, it's very consistent throughout the whole platform, so that you're not like trying to figure out what that icon's supposed to be for while you're looking at while you're looking at your class for the first time.
So for command line stuff, I mean, I'm sure most everyone's familiar. I mean, if you're a Packet person, Wireshark person, everyone can use Wireshark to some degree. But then we get to T-Shark and EditCap and other associated tools. And I'm assuming the people who are familiar or comfortable there, that number drops quite a lot. But they're curious. But maybe not even sure why they should know it or learn it. What are the advantages? What are the use cases? Why bother?
Okay. So for, two big things, all right, unless you're going to have this for 3 hours. So two big things is you should always use dump cap to capture. You should either use TCP dump or you should use dump cap, period. Not Wireshark, not T-Shark, not anything else, unless it's like hardware-based, super awesome product you're being paid $1 million for. But as far as your command line tools, your open source tools, dump cap or TCP dump, depending on your OS. And because Wireshark uses TCP dump to capture, T-Shark uses TCP dump as its capture engine. So there's no need, reason, or good technical reason to capture with something that's just going to add a layer of, to it. And so, dump cap always for capture. And but that's pretty much all for dump cap. Does one thing really well, and then it's over. And then T-Shark. T-Shark's just like Wireshark, only at the command line. So, why do we do stuff at the command line? Because I want to script it, because I want to do it over and over again, because I want to add it to the run book or the playbook or whatever y'all call it. Those kind of things. Like, so, I don't know how to script. I don't really understand that. So it still counts if you copy everything, all the syntax into a OneNote. It still totally counts as command line. And, but I mean, T-Shark can do amazing things. And one of Sockablock's videos from SharkFest on YouTube, on the SharkFest channel, he goes through all sorts of amazing things that I actually could do.
Yeah.
So if I can do that, anyone can do that. And because he's got like extra Linux syntax and stuff like that,
that will work on
which works in a Mac,
right?
And I have a Mac.
You can do it on Windows if you install the
Ew, ew,
the Linux
ew,
subsystem
ew.
thingy. It works
You
great.
mean like Sigwin?
No. You can.
Sigwin?
There's a new Linux
Oh, that's
subsystem
right.
or
It's new.
whatever.
It's new.
Like I have
Yes.
Ubuntu. I have a
Yes.
Bash shell running natively. It's, natively. It's not Sigwin
Right.
on
Right.
here, and it, so far so good. Well, if you,
I haven't tried that yet.
what's that?
Because I'm not. I said I haven't tried that yet because I don't have.
No,
a
that's fair.
computer.
That's fair. It's not for everyone, Betty. I mean, it's a challenge, that not everyone's up for.
Right.
So that is hilarious coming out of my mouth, considering my experience in life. Oh, we lost her.
Here's what I'll do. All right, I'll install it on this and I'll test it.
Okay.
My little tiny one. I'll test it.
Oh, that's not a hard drive. That's
a little tiny program. Yeah, it's GPD. Isn't it cute?
Oh wow, yeah.
But it runs Windows.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'll try it on that.
Fair enough.
Give it a whirl.
All right. Well, if you are ready, we can go live with some command line goodness, and you can walk us through what you like, and I'll monitor the chat. And let me see if I mashed the right button this time.
Okay, so let's pretend that my goal is to analyze a response time issue, since that's often what I'm doing. And I have a trace that is rather large. So let's see, my eyes don't go to it. There we go. This is the one I want. Okay, so it's about 6.5 gig. All right. Now, that's going to take pretty long for Wireshark to open and then filter and then realize that you really wanted to have a different filter. So you got to pivot, and then a different filter. You got to pivot, right? So it's going to take a while, and I have the attention span of a 3-year-old. So there are two ways to approach here. Okay. So we could go ahead and use other tools like Brim, which is super fabulous. Okay. Or we could use paid product, which I don't usually use unless they send me one to the house for free. So, or we could do profiles, and we could do T-Shark, and that's what we're going to look for. Okay. So what we need to do is get that file to a smaller file. All right. So stand by. I have to cut and paste, literally, seriously, out of OneNote. I'm not kidding. Okay. And all right. So let me tell you what that's going to do while it's doing it. Alrighty. So the first thing, my goal is to make a smaller file of just the stuff I care about. Luckily, I already have, based on the complaints, the IP address of the servers involved or the network involved. All right. And I'm capturing closest to the client because that's just, I'm stuck there. All right. Even though it's always best to capture more than one place. Yes. But this is, a cloud situation. Okay. So, so going through it while it's thinking here, -R, that goes ahead and actually, says what's the input file? What file am I going to go ahead and take in, right? Do some stuff with, make a new file. Right. This is our goal. So the -C, what that's for is I want to use my own profile. I have what I call quick load profiles. I've got two of them. One is layer 4 and below, and one is layer 7. Okay. For only certain protocols. Okay. So the biggest thing that you can do to a profile is eliminate the protocols that you don't actually need. There's over 3,000 awesome, amazing protocol dissectors. You got to load each one of those files. They're all written in C. You got to load them up. And so that's one of the biggest things that takes the most time that I've been able to notice. And so I just pull out everything I don't need. Right. All right. Right. And so now anything that I do using that profile is, okay, so I am that kind of person. I actually measure things and put them in Excel and, track it, right? Because I'm really a business major. I'm not really a technical person. And it's about 33, It's about 33% faster.
Okay, and to be clear, this is when we talk about loading a profile, we're not just talking about what columns it might print. We're talking about literally the entire Wireshark configuration, which is enabling dissectors or disabling things. Everything is loading when you run this C#. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And so, and then my next spot here is a filter. So I'm doing a display filter syntax, right? And the -y, minus capital Y, what that does is just a regular display filter. Okay. So is it there? Is it not there? As opposed to a minus capital R filter, and that's a related packet filter. So I'm sure if you've ever used Wireshark, you might have noticed that Wireshark measures different times and things, and it'll put the other packet like in blue underline icon. You could double click on it to go back and forth, right? Because they're related. And each dissector has a different way, each protocol in the dissector has a different way of correlating those two together, right? Well, that's a minus R filter. And then you have to do a -2 at the end of your filter to say that this is a 2-pass. Okay, so that's a different, that's what makes them different. That's why there's 2 of them, all right? And so I'm just doing one for IP adder equals the IP address of choice, and that is going to be 80, alrighty?
Right.
And you notice I double quoted it. That's because there's spaces. So if I just said IP.adder equal 10 dot whatever, and I didn't put any spaces in it, then I wouldn't have to double quote it. So it's just like files and directories in Linux, or on the Mac. If there's space, you got to double quote it, right? And then otherwise the syntax error is kind of misleading. It takes a while to figure out what they really mean by the error messages. So there's my filter, okay? And then it's going to go ahead and write to disk. And if I go ahead, it's already done, right? So if I hit my up arrow, there we go. And where are you?
6-17, right above the 6.pcap, so it's significantly smaller.
The one from earlier, okay. Yeah, and it's like 1.3 gigs. I can open that right now, okay, with a default profile. But I have 64 gigs of RAM too on my Mac, and
wow,
that makes a huge difference. Yeah, it is. It's all about the RAM. So, but it's significantly smaller, and it does overwrite what was already there. Okay, so now I can go ahead, and if I pop that open in the default profile. Now, the only thing I've done to the default is I've changed so that it tells you how long it took to load it. All right. And other than that, it's literally, vanilla default. All right. And so you can see down at the bottom, what my load time is. All right. And it counts up my load time. And I kind of like to do that just to kind of see, if what I'm doing is making any difference.
Right.
All right. And I think there's like 7.8 million packets. And so I think my time with default is 54 seconds.
Okay.
Oh, hey, it's already done. Oh,
there it is.
Oh, hey, 28. Oh, no, this is the new one. So the 6 gig took that. And then my new one, it took like half the time. Right. And now I can go ahead and do whatever I need to. And this is how Wireshark normally looks with the default profile, which is lovely. But I want to look for response time issues. So I would either A, change my profile to TCP, and it's going to take longer to load. And I would look for TCP problems first.
Right.
And then, and you can see my progress bar, it's like loading up. And I would look at TCP problems first. I would actually look at network problems first. Let's assume that we've.
Oh, am I losing you? I think I'm losing you. This is
TCP sends.
There we go. We're back.
green, because green means go, right? Then same thing for me. I like to use specific colors to mean specific things. So, for example, whatever packet's highlighted is bright yellow, so you know which one is highlighted.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's red, right? Red means stop and look. So, those are all the things you want to stop, look at. Okay. But the big thing with me is in the color rule column, um, I named them all very specific color rules, and I added that as a column. So for me,
Yeah.
That's a retransmission. I don't even have to scroll over. I mean, I
Right.
could,
You know
it's
why
over.
it's, yeah.
Right. But I already know why we've got a retransmission. Okay. And then the other, which ones are just, general expert error messages that I don't have a color code for. And, and that way I can look for the ones like window size. I have, its own color code. It's the same color though. And then, but, it has its own one because a lot of times I want to go ahead and, take that color rule. If I have it as a column, then I could sort, which I don't want to do because with a file is still this big, that will take a little too long. But with a smaller file, it's awesome. But I can go ahead and drag that and then drop it up in the color rule.
Oh,
and
very
then
cool.
that way, yeah. And that way I can filter for anything with that color rule.
Yeah. I think it's worth noting that when you're talking about streamlining a profile, doing, carving large files down to smaller files. So when you go to work in Wireshark, loading the file is faster, but it's also cumulative because Wireshark has to recrunch through the file all the time. So yes, you may be 33% faster loading it, but over the course of you doing your work, you're going to save tons and tons of time.
Right, because it's 33% each time.
Yeah.
Each time. Yeah, every pivot. So for me, every time I pivot in direction, is, if I'm doing a different filter or looking at a different possibility, is this a window issue? Is this a, whatever? I could have popped open the expert, but, all right, I have a nice little percentage. Okay, 1.4% out onto the internet is not great, but not hideous. So now I know a mental note. I should watch for that.
Right.
Okay. And so it really makes it nice to be able to do that really quickly. And if I don't have any type of, let's say that, all right, I've made the mental note, okay, and I want to go ahead and look at, that retransmissions might be an issue, but probably not. I want to look now for something specific because what I would do for me, I would take that 1.4% and then, this is really a 67 gig trace file. Yay. So I would look at other conversations going out to different subnets. Am I experiencing the same retransmission rate? Yes, it's my fault then. No, it's not the same. It's much, much less. Okay, then maybe that is a problem. All right. And that's how I would know which it is. Okay. But I'm going to go ahead and pop over. Let's do this. Let's clear my filter. And then I got to let it rescan. I should have done that while I was talking. And then I'm going to switch over to application because they were complaining about slowness. So for me, I focus on time.
Right.
So I'm going to switch over to my application. You have to forgive me. My camera's right in my way to see my screen. And every once in a while I'm like, oh, what does it say? And now this one's going to take a bit longer because, my TCP profile only goes up to TCP.
Right.
There are no application layer protocols.
Right.
My application layer profile, tons of application layer protocols. And so it's going to take a bit more. All right. But so not a lot. So what I'm going to do is, since it's HTTP, here we go, slow HTTP. And if I hold still, you can kind of see the syntax. HTTP time greater than 0.2. So if that was their complaint, I want to see examples of where their complaint was true and then work my way to figure out why.
So this is HTTP, application layer response time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah. In fact, when I go ahead and there we go, we're finished with the display. See my Delta application column? See how that has more than one field? All right. Vladimir is the one who taught me that. Not me personally. I read it on his Twitter feed, and I don't want anybody to think that at the time, he just called me up and let me know about that. But so I went through and looked for any protocol that has a time column, a time field. And now I can go ahead and have that all be just one column.
Wow.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. And then that way I can compare TCP round trip time, so my IRTT time for that conversation, right? And then compare that to the response time.
Right. Right.
Is it big because the IRTT is big, or is it big because it sucks? So having those right together, I can just look at that right away. Okay.
Yeah, that's a very cool trick. I just want to make sure everyone got that. Yeah. That were you, because I myself will add a column when I'm looking at HTTP for HTTP time, and if I'm using SMB, I might add SMB. But this is a trick to add a column across multiple protocols. That's
exactly.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So you just do an OR for your syntax for the fields, and I'm sure there's probably maybe more fields, but these are the ones I found so far. There's a couple more in the statistics and service response time that I haven't added, like diameter. I should add diameter time. But so I've got those in there, and it just makes it easy for me to see, what that is, and then compare it to the TCP time.
Right. Very cool.
And I could color code it as well, right? Because I'm all into the color code, and make that easier to jump out at me, right? But now that I know I've got different streams, okay, and which streams to look at, then I can go ahead and, now, use that awesome stream button, right?
There we go.
And then, yay! It just magically goes to that
stream. So
there
you go, folks in the chat who are looking for the actual text of the filter. There you go.
There we go. And I was going to ask, I have no way, I can put a couple things, like I could comment on this video and put in some of the syntax that I used. If you think that would be helpful, Carrie.
Sure. Yeah, when it goes up later, assuming YouTube comments won't filter out any weird characters or anything, because I think people are having trouble posting stuff in the chat for that issue. But that may just be because it's chat.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll pop those in, because right now I can't see the chat. I got like 7 things going on in my computer. I have 2 monitors and 7 things. I can't do that. So I don't even know what's going on in the chat. But I'll go through the chat, and so if there's anything that you want to see, you want me to put into a comment on the video, you just put it in the chat, because I'm going to read the chat anyway later, and that way we can do that. Okay. So cool. And then that way, now number one, I can tell who is it, right? I got a CDN for Apple, and I can see what kind of messages were they that were slow, and comparatively, did they get an error or did they get a yes? Did they get an error? Did they get a yes? And I can figure out why is it slow. So in this particular scenario, now I know retransmissions for this conversation is not the problem.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
It's something else, but it's not retransmission. It's not packet loss. So, so that clue I had earlier, total red herring.
Right.
Okay. And, and that's the thing. I got to figure out which clues are not right, which clues. And I just think it easier. And then here, let me show you one thing to analyze now. View and color and rules. Okay. Everybody has different color rules. It's totally personal preference. You should do whatever you want. Okay. This is what I do.
One of the hotly debated topics in the Wireshark community.
Oh my God, yeah. And see, there is no one answer. There is no one single answer. So you should do whatever you want. Okay. But all right. For my quick load, I have no color rules. Because remember, what does Wireshark do? It looks at the packet, looks at the rule list, sees if it falls under any of the rules, right? And if it has to go through 500 rules to find rule 501, which is, okay, nothing went with it, and now I'll colorize it, loading that thing's going to be slower. So I don't, in my quick loads, I don't have, and I don't just uncheck them like this. I mean, I just delete them, all right? But for me, I have two colors. It's either red or it's not red. So red means stop and look.
Right.
And then everything else should fade. John Ford, also SharkFest, a presenter, awesome guy, taught me that. It's like what I'm not looking at should kind of fade, into nothing. All right. It should not be some other weird, funky color. And so what I do is I use a different color for the layers. So layer 7 is one color, layer 4 is a color, layer 3 is a color,
right.
Right. And then, okay, the really cool stuff in TCP, the important stuff, is kind of just that soft butter yellow, because I had to bring that, the SMB color, from the original, kind of bring that into my profiles, because, I am an SMB girl. And so I brought that back and used it as, just a little bit darker than white to fade.
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're about almost at the top of the hour. Any last tips or tricks here that you wanted to share either here or command line before we maybe just see if there's any Q&A type? Anything?
Well, yeah, definitely Q&A. But while people are thinking and typing their Qs, one of the things that I could have done is used T-Shark filters to map out anybody who had delta application time greater than X, and then not filter it, not make it a new file, but pipe out what their stream numbers are, and then do a filter just for those streams with an in. That's how you do it.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. We'll leave it here on this setting, this screen, in case anyone has any comments or questions about what we're looking at or something we haven't looked at, either any command line questions or here. Yes, my camera did overheat. I rebooted it and it's back. We'll see how long that holds up. I'll have to look into that. Let's see.
Oops.
What have I done? I'm on emojis. How do I get off of emojis? Oh. Yeah.
Oh, so the emojis, right? So you know how my whole thing in life is delta time.
Mm. Oh. I am losing you again.
So I've got a triangle application, which means I can fit more on my screen.
Unfortunately, I missed almost all that due to a network blip, and I wasn't capturing packets, so I don't know. I hope it made it through to the live stream. I don't know if it was just on my end or if it's or what's happening.
It's all good.
Camera overheating. That's a couple of network dropouts. It's
these things happen.
One of those days. Okay. So let's, again, if anyone has any questions, please put them in the chat. Meanwhile, people can find you basically in the links below. SharkFest class, Plural Site course, Twitter, LinkedIn, your homepage. Hey, if someone is needing to bring in an expert to help them troubleshoot a problem, that's what you do, right? The packet detective. Anywhere else that anything else people should know to find you, or that about cover it?
Yeah, I think that I sent you like 7 links.
Yeah, they
So I
should
think,
be. They should be
you
all
know,
in there.
don't laugh. I did not put my Pinterest link in there,
Oh well, we can add it.
but I actually do have a business Pinterest link, and it's like almost all sharks.
Just pictures of sharks.
Really awesome pictures of
Well, you've
sharks.
got. I think you've got several over your shoulder there, behind
Yeah,
you, right?
just a few. You like that? It's
Yeah,
so awesome.
it's a great
Yeah,
collection.
I like it.
Yeah, I think I have a pair of socks that I wear from time to time that I got at
Oh
one
yeah,
of the shark fests.
yeah, yeah. And
All right, let me bring up
they're
my.
fun.
Let me look on my other machine just to make sure I'm not missing anything.
Okie dokie.
Okay.
How long does it take before it's like, recorded on YouTube and people can do the replay?
So it is basically available almost immediately, just as a video,
Oh, awesome.
but it takes
Mhm.
probably, the basically when I wake up tomorrow, it will be there with the chat that will be scrolling in real time. So the chat's not available
Okay.
until it finishes processing the whole thing, which
Mhm.
takes a long time. It'll probably be tomorrow, would be my guess.
Awesome.
Betty, have you considered making your own YouTube videos, or doing more?
I do make my own YouTube videos.
Okay. They said,
You can.
yeah,
That's one of the links.
yes, one of the links. I guess they're
And feel
asking
free
if
to
you'll.
watch them. Nobody watches
They're
them. I
asking
feel
if you'll
bad
do
'cause
more,
nobody watches
basically.
them.
you know.
Yeah, do more. Yeah. Well, thank you. I will do more. I will do more because I have all the equipment now. Y'all can't see it because I cut it just right. But I've got a boatload of equipment in here because you had to have it all,
Right.
to author the class or Pluralsight, they want you to have really awesome equipment. And then today I'm getting a 43-inch TV
Ooh,
and gonna use it as a monitor. Yes.
that'll be cool.
43-inch 4K.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I see. I
Yep.
see people doing that. Since I've gotten into the PC world and looking at popular YouTube channels, and people are reviewing these massive 4K
Right.
high refresh rate,
Yes.
TVs as their monitors, or gaming monitors, really.
Well, the big thing is how fast they refresh to your peripherals.
Yeah.
So you don't have the lag time.
Right. Right.
And then, so that's the number you've got to look for. But I bought a very inexpensive one from a very large retailer here in the United States, that starts with W, and it comes today. So, but you can imagine, rendering, like you said, you do Premiere Pro. I do Camtasia and I do DaVinci, but that timeline just takes forever.
Right.
And you're like scrolling, and so I'm like, I need real estate, man.
I
I
hear
need
you.
real estate.
I hear you. I'm enjoying my 34 ultra wide, but
Ooh.
it's what, 1440p or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I briefly had a
It's
4K, but the regular 16 by 9 whatever aspect ratio.
Right.
But I really enjoyed the immersive aspect of it for games, which turns out I'm not doing as often as I thought. And I kind of miss the clarity of the 4K. If you scale it up to about 125%, it's so beautiful. So beautiful.
Yeah, because I mean, like my IMAX 27-inch monitor 4K, but my other monitor is it's a 32-inch monitor, but it's only like 1080, which is great, but not awesome.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Yeah, I need awesome.
Well,
I really want one of those curved ones.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
God,
This one has a slight curve to it, but it's like I said, it's not huge. But there was a request, maybe after the fact, if you take a. Oh, I overheated again. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. If I turn it off to reset it, then you probably won't hear me. There was a request for a pitch.
See, I can't see the chat, so I would answer something from chat.
No,
but
it's a request. If you would take a picture of your shirt and maybe post it on Twitter or something. Your OG Sharkfest shirt.
See if there was anything else I wanted to show you.
Oh,
I have tons of notes. While we wait for Carrie. Oh, I can't show anything because I can't switch over to share my screen. Well, this is fun. Okay, this is cool. It's all good.
Am I here?
Ooh, green screen.
Can you hear me?
Sort of.
Okay. Well, I think if you can hear me, then there was a request for you to post a picture of your shirt. Maybe you could put it on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Oh, I should.
And
I will. I'll have my daughter take one.
okay.
And yeah.
All right.
And then post it on Twitter. Because yeah, seriously. All right. So this is so sad. I'm so weird. Okay. So it's it's hex, right? And then of course the sniff free or die, right? But then there's like little things hidden in the hex in different places.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I have to get out more. And, but
I have an upside down.
Is there anything on the back? No, there's nothing on the back.
I have the Sans upside down IP and TCP header T-shirt somewhere.
Oh, nice.
All right.
I still have the Network General T-shirt with the old bugs on it.
Oh yeah. Very cool. Well, before something here explodes, and doesn't work anymore, we'll say goodbye. We'll hop into the YouTube chat. If there's any final questions while this thing winds down. Betty, thank you so much for joining. I hope everyone enjoyed it, and we will see you again soon on the next live stream. Bye-bye.
Awesome.